My name is Sophia Taylor. I'm 28 years old, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina, where I coordinate restoration projects for historic hotels that wealthy guests love to photograph but never notice closely enough. For 4 years, I had not had dinner with my parents in the same room. Not Christmas, not Thanksgiving, not even my birthday. So when they finally agreed to fly out and see me, I paid for everything without blinking. 2 round-trip tickets, checked bags, airport transportation, even a rental car in case they wanted to explore the city. I cleaned my townhouse until it looked like a magazine photo. I bought fresh flowers. I cooked the pot roast my mother used to make when I was little, and the lemon pie my father always claimed no bakery could get right. Every night for a week, I set the table for 4. Every night the candles burned lower while my phone stayed silent. They were only 30 minutes away, staying at my sister's house, laughing in photos she posted online, holding her kids, drinking wine on her porch, acting like this was a family vacation I had accidentally wandered near. On their last day, while the roast cooled on the counter and the plates were still untouched, my phone buzzed. My mother texted, "Maybe next time, sweetie." I stared at those 4 words until something inside me went completely quiet. Not broken, not crying, quiet. Because by then I had already opened my banking app, and I was looking at 4 years of payments they had never thanked me for. Before I tell you what I did next, and how fast they stopped saying, "maybe next time," tell me, what time is it for you right now, and where are you watching from? I'm curious to see how far this story will travel. The first night they chose Hannah's house over mine, I told myself not to overreact. People get tired after flights. People need time to settle in. Maybe the kids were excited to see them. Maybe my mother felt awkward because 4 years is a long time to explain away with a hug and a casserole. So I wrapped the roast, covered the pie, washed dishes no one had eaten from, and went to bed pretending the ache in my chest was just exhaustion. The next morning, I woke up early, made coffee, and texted, "Good morning. I can make brunch here whenever you're ready. No rush." I even added a smiling emoji because apparently I still wanted to be easy to love. 2 hours passed, then 4. At noon, Hannah posted a picture of my parents at a waterfront restaurant with the caption, "Best surprise visit ever. The kids are spoiled rotten this week." My mother commented, "Wouldn't miss it for the world." I read that sentence 3 times, wouldn't miss it for the world. But she had missed me for 4 years, and somehow that had never required an explanation. Around 3, I called my father. He answered with noise in the background, kids shouting, Hannah laughing, dishes clinking. "Hey, Soph," he said, casual as weather. "Everything okay?" That question almost made me laugh. I said, "I was checking what time you and Mom wanted to come over. I've got dinner ready again tonight." He paused just long enough for me to hear the answer before he said it. "Tonight might be tricky. Hannah's place is more convenient with the kids. And honestly, sweetheart, your mother doesn't want to keep packing up and driving back and forth." Packing up? They had a rental car I paid for. 30 minutes was now back and forth. I kept my voice calm and said, "Dad, I flew you here to see me." He sighed like I was making a small thing uncomfortable. "We are seeing you. You know, generally, we're in the same city." That line landed harder than any insult because he truly believed it was enough. Being nearby counted as love. Being considered was optional. That evening, I set the table again. Not because I still believed they were coming, but because I needed to see the truth laid out in front of me. 4 plates, 4 folded napkins, 4 empty chairs, and 1 daughter still trying to host a family that had already chosen another house. Then I opened my laptop. Not for work, but for numbers. For 4 years, while I was building a career restoring old buildings for people who cared about history, I had been quietly restoring my parents' lives too. I paid part of their mortgage when my father's consulting clients dried up. I covered my mother's prescriptions when she said insurance was messy. I sent money when their car needed repairs. I paid for Hannah's emergency childcare once, then twice, then so often it became a line item. The total made my hands go cold. $62,840. Not including the flights, not including the rental car, not including the groceries cooling in my refrigerator. I stared at that number and remembered every time they called me independent, like it was a compliment when it really meant, we don't have to worry about you. I typed the number into a clean spreadsheet, added dates, reasons, transfer confirmations, and saved it under a file name that made me sit back in silence. Family support. Final record. That night, my father texted at 9:17 p.m. Long day. We'll try tomorrow. I looked at the table, blew out the candles, and replied with one word. Okay. But in my head, I added the sentence I wasn't ready to send yet. Tomorrow is the last day I wait. By the third day, the pattern had become almost insulting in how predictable it was. I would wake up, offer breakfast, lunch, dinner, a walk downtown, a drive to the old Battery, anything. My mother would respond hours later with something soft enough to avoid guilt and vague enough to avoid commitment. That sounds lovely, sweetie. Let's see how the day goes. Your sister has a lot planned. Meanwhile, Hannah posted everything. My parents eating pancakes with her kids, my father fixing a loose cabinet handle in her kitchen, my mother folding laundry on Hannah's sofa with a caption that said, "Nothing like having mom here." I wasn't even jealous of the laundry. That was the humiliating part. I would have been grateful for my mother sitting in my kitchen criticizing the way I organized mugs. I would have welcomed my father pointing out a squeaky hinge. I didn't need a grand apology. I needed proof that I existed when Hannah was in the room. On day 4, my best friend Olivia Monroe came over after work with takeout because she said if I cooked another untouched dinner, she would personally throw my Dutch oven into the harbor. Olivia had known me since I moved to Charleston with 2 suitcases and a job offer from a boutique restoration firm. She had watched me take emergency calls from my parents during gallery openings, birthdays, even once during a hurricane warning. She had also watched me apologize for needing nothing. When she walked in and saw the table still set, her expression changed from concern to anger. "Sophia," she said quietly, "this looks like a memorial." I tried to laugh, but it came out wrong. We sat at the table anyway, because someone deserved to eat the food. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed. It was a photo from Hannah, not even sent directly to me, just posted in the family group chat. My parents were at a baseball game with her family. My mother wore a team hoodie. My father held a giant pretzel. Hannah wrote, "Spontaneous family night." I looked at Olivia. She looked at me. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Then Olivia reached across the table and turned my phone face down. "You flew them here," she said. "You fed them from a distance. You funded them for years. And now you're watching them spend your time, your money, and your hope at your sister's house." I whispered, "I don't want to be cruel." She shook her head. "Cruel is inviting your daughter to wait every night while you make memories 30 minutes away. Boundaries are not cruelty. They only feel cruel to people who benefited from you not having any." That sentence stayed with me. After she left, I stood in front of the hallway mirror and saw myself at 12 years old, sitting on the stairs in a party dress because my parents had forgotten to pick me up from a school awards ceremony when Hannah's dance rehearsal ran late. I saw myself at 16, pretending I didn't care when my father missed my debate final because Hannah had a rough day. I saw myself at 22, wiring money home from my first real paycheck while my mother told relatives I was too busy with my big life to visit. And now, at 28, I was still auditioning for a role I should have been born into. Daughter, not donor, not backup plan, daughter. I went back to the spreadsheet and added a second tab. Active payments, mortgage supplement, prescription account, car insurance contribution. Streaming subscriptions, my mother once said, helped Dad relax. Hannah's kids' after-school program, which I had covered just for one semester 2 years ago. The list was not dramatic. That was why it scared me. It looked ordinary, responsible, kind. But kindness without respect had turned into a quiet contract where I gave, and they disappeared. At the bottom, I typed one sentence in bold: "Stop funding people who do not show up for you." Then I closed the laptop, not because I was finished, but because I finally knew what the ending had to cost. On the 5th day of their visit, my mother finally called. I answered on speaker while standing in the restored lobby of an old hotel where my team had spent months preserving hand-carved woodwork most guests would never notice. "Sweetie," she said, bright and distracted, "we may not make it tonight. Hannah promised the kids a family movie night and your father is exhausted." I looked across the lobby at a cracked marble column we had repaired piece by piece because someone had decided it was worth saving. For a moment, I wondered what would happen if I stopped repairing things no one else protected. I said, "Mom, you leave in 2 days." "I know, honey," she replied. "This trip just got so busy. Maybe you can come to Hannah's tomorrow morning before we head out for errands." I almost said yes. That was the old reflex. Accept whatever crumbs were offered, then call it dinner. Instead, I asked, "Why didn't you stay with me?" Silence. Then the voice she used when she wanted a conversation to end without becoming honest. "Oh, Sophia, don't start. Hannah has more space. The children needed us. You're so independent. We knew you'd understand." There it was again. Independent. The family word for alone. "I paid for the flights," I said. "I bought food for a week. I asked you every day to come here." My mother sighed. "And we appreciate that. But you're making this sound like we abandoned you." "Didn't you?" I asked. She didn't answer. In the background, I heard Hannah say, "Mom, are you still on the phone? The kids are waiting." My mother lowered her voice. "We'll talk later, okay? Love you." The call ended before I could respond. I stood there with my phone in my hand, surrounded by a building full of things that had survived neglect because someone finally intervened. That evening, I did not cook. I did not set the table. I sat at my desk and wrote one email. Not emotional, not begging, not full of paragraphs asking them to love me correctly. Subject: travel and financial support. "Mom and Dad, I paid for this trip because I believed you wanted to spend time with me after 4 years apart. Instead, you chose to stay with Hannah and declined every invitation I made. I respect your choice. Now I'm making mine. Effective immediately, I will no longer provide monthly financial support, cover household expenses, or pay for family costs that are not mine. I have attached a record of the support I have provided since 2022 for clarity. I am also canceling the rental car extension and will not be paying any additional travel changes. Your return flights remain active because I do not break commitments I already made. After that, you will need to manage your own expenses." I read it twice. My hands shook, but not from uncertainty. They shook because some part of me understood that this was the first honest thing I had written to them in years. I attached the spreadsheet. Then, after a moment, I attached one photo. My dining table from the first night. Candles lit, 4 plates waiting, no people in the chairs. I didn't include it to hurt them. I included it because I was done letting them pretend this was a misunderstanding. Before I clicked send, Hannah posted another photo. My parents were on her porch, wrapped in blankets, captioned, "Soaking up every last minute." I looked at that caption, then at my email. Every last minute. Not one of those minutes had been mine. I clicked send. Then I opened 5 different accounts and began doing what I should have done years earlier. I canceled the automatic mortgage transfer scheduled for the 1st of the month. I removed my card from the prescription account after confirming my mother had her own payment method listed. I stopped the recurring childcare payment to Hannah's after-school program and sent a polite note saying future billing should go directly to the parent on file. I canceled the streaming bundle, roadside assistance plan, and the temporary car insurance contribution my father had treated as permanent. Each cancellation felt less like revenge and more like returning stolen weight. At 11:42 p.m., my father texted, "What is this email?" At 11:44, my mother called. At 11:45, Hannah called twice. I placed my phone face down and walked into the kitchen. For the first time all week, the table was clear. The calls started before sunrise. My mother first, then my father, then Hannah, then my mother again. By 8 a.m., I had 12 missed calls, 7 text messages, and 1 voicemail from my father that began calm and ended with him saying, "This is not how family handles things." I listened to it while making coffee, and the old guilt rose like steam. Then I replayed the week in my head. Every untouched dinner, every maybe, every smiling photo from Hannah's house, every bill I had paid while being treated like a distant cousin. At 8:23, I answered my mother's call. She did not say hello. She said, "Sophia, you need to undo whatever you did." Her voice was tight, not wounded in the way I had imagined, but panicked. That told me everything. "Good morning, Mom," I said. "Did you read the email?" "Of course I read it. Your father read it. Hannah read it. We all read your little spreadsheet." Little. Over $62,000 became little the moment it made them uncomfortable. "Then you understand," I said. "No," she snapped. "I understand that you are punishing us because we stayed where it made practical sense. We raised you better than this." I took a slow breath. "You raised me to be useful. I'm teaching myself to be respected." Silence hit the line. Then my father's voice cut in. She had put me on speaker. "That is unfair, Sophia." "Is it?" I asked. "You were 30 minutes away for a week. I invited you every day. You didn't come once." My father cleared his throat. "Hannah needed help with the kids. And I needed my parents." He said nothing. My mother filled the silence with the sentence that finally burned away the last of my doubt. "You don't have children, Sophia. You don't understand what real family obligations look like." Real family. I laughed once, quietly, because if I didn't, I might have cried. So my money was real, but I wasn't. My mother's voice softened, but not into apology, into strategy. "Honey, this is a bad time. Your father's contracts have been slow. The mortgage payment is coming up. My medication renewal is next week. Hannah already budgeted around that childcare help. You can't just pull everything at once." "I can," I said. "I just did." "That's selfish," she said. There it was. The word people use when your sacrifice stops arriving on schedule. My father said, "Can we at least discuss this when we see you today?" I almost smiled. "Today?" "Yes," he said quickly. "We can come by after lunch." After lunch? On the last day? After the money stopped? I looked at the clean dining table. No plates, no candles, no performance. "No," I said. "I'm not available." My mother gasped like I had slapped her. "Sophia Taylor, we flew all this way." "I know," I said. "I paid for it." The line went dead quiet. For years, I had imagined that if I finally stood up for myself, I would feel cruel, monstrous, cold. Instead, I felt sad and steady. Those two feelings can exist together. I told them, "Your return flight is tomorrow morning. The rental car is paid through tonight. After that, you'll need to handle the rest yourselves. I'm not discussing money anymore." My father's voice dropped low. "So that's it? We make one mistake and you turn your back on us?" "One mistake?" I asked. "Dad, one mistake is missing dinner because traffic was bad. This was a week of choices." My mother began crying then, but even the crying had edges. "I hope you're proud of yourself." I looked at the photo of the empty table still open on my laptop. "I'm not proud," I said. "I'm awake." Then I ended the call. My hands trembled so badly I had to set the mug down. 5 minutes later, Hannah texted, "Mom is sobbing. I hope this was worth it." I stared at her message and typed back. Tell her I set the table for her every night. She knows what was worth missing. Then I blocked the family group chat for 24 hours. Not forever, just long enough to hear myself think. By noon, Hannah found a new route around the silence. She sent a voice message from a number I didn't recognize, and against my better judgment, I listened. Soph, she began, already sounding annoyed. I know you're upset, but you're being extreme. Mom and Dad are old. They don't need this stress. You know Dad's money situation is embarrassing for him. And honestly, you make more than all of us. So I don't understand why you're acting like helping family is some huge burden. I stopped the message there. I didn't need the rest. That was the family equation. Because I had worked hard, I owed them. Because Hannah had chosen chaos, she deserved help. Because my parents were uncomfortable, I had to become convenient again. Then another message arrived from my father. Please call. Your mother is very upset. We are at Hannah's and everyone is fighting. Everyone is fighting. Not, we miss you. Not, we hurt you. Fighting. The money had done what my pain never could. It made them pay attention. I did call, but not because they demanded it. I called because I wanted to hear the truth without the family group chat translating it. Hannah answered my father's phone by accident. I heard shouting before anyone realized the call had connected. My mother was saying, "She can't cancel everything. Richard, you said you had it handled." My father snapped. I thought she'd be happy we came at all. Hannah said, "Well, I can't cover after-school care this month. I already put down the deposit for the beach rental." The beach rental. I closed my eyes. They had been planning another vacation while I was paying their bills. Then Hannah noticed the call. "Sophia?" The room went silent. I said, "Don't hang up." My father took the phone. "You weren't supposed to hear all that." "I know," I said. "That's why it was honest." He exhaled hard. "Look, things got complicated." "No," I said. "They got clear." My mother came on the line, voice smaller now. "Sophia, please, we can fix this. Come over tonight. We'll all sit down." "At Hannah's?" I asked. Another silence. That answer was almost funny. Even the apology meeting was going to happen in the house they chose over mine. "No," I said. "If you want to talk to me as your daughter, you can come to my home. If you want to discuss money, there is nothing to discuss." My father muttered something away from the phone. My mother said, "We don't want your money, sweetheart." I replied, "Then you won't miss it." She started crying again, but this time I heard panic underneath. "That's not what I meant." "I know exactly what you meant," I said. "You want the support without the responsibility. You want access to my bank account without making space at the table." Hannah cut in, sharp and defensive. "That's dramatic. You always do this. You make everything about being left out." Something inside me turned cold. "Hannah, I paid for Mom and Dad to fly here to see me. They stayed at your house. You posted family photos all week and never once asked why I wasn't there. So tell me, when was I supposed to feel included?" She had no answer. My father tried to regain control. "We'll come by tonight." "No," I said. "You had 6 nights. I'm busy tonight." "Doing what?" my mother asked, offended by the idea that I had a life separate from waiting. I looked at the restored hotel schedule on my desk. Then, at the reservation Olivia had made at a small jazz bar because she refused to let my last night of humiliation become another vigil. "I'm having dinner with someone who actually shows up," I said. My mother whispered, "Sophia, don't do this." And for the first time, I heard the real meaning clearly. Don't change. Don't make us uncomfortable. Don't force us to see what we took for granted. I said, "I already did." That evening, while I was out with Olivia, my phone filled again. My father sent a photo from outside my townhouse at 8:16 p.m. "We're here." I stared at it in the restaurant, Jazz music humming behind me, warm food in front of me, a friend across the table who had never needed money to care. For one painful second, I almost stood up. The old Sophia would have run home, apologized for making them stand outside, reheated leftovers, and called their late arrival a miracle. Instead, I typed, "I told you I was unavailable. Safe flight tomorrow." My father replied, "Your mother is crying in the car." I wrote back, "I cried at this table alone for a week." Then I turned my phone off and finished my dinner while it was still hot. The next morning, they flew home without seeing the inside of my house. That sentence used to sound like failure. Now it sounds like evidence. They had come all the way to Charleston, slept 30 minutes away, spent 6 days choosing Hannah's porch, Hannah's kids, Hannah's errands, Hannah's plans. And when they finally stood at my door, it was because the money stopped. I didn't say that to punish myself. I said it because truth has a shape. And once you see it clearly, you can't fold it back into denial. The first week after they left was ugly. My mother sent long messages about sacrifice, motherhood, and how deeply I had wounded her. My father sent practical messages disguised as emotional ones. "Can we talk about the mortgage?" Then, "Your mother misses you." Then, "Just 1 month while we adjust." Hannah posted vague quotes online about people who forget where they came from, followed by a photo of an expensive beach rental she later deleted. For once, I didn't respond to every hook. I answered only once, in writing, so no one could twist it later. "I love you, but I will not resume financial support. If you want a relationship with me, it must be based on respect, consistency, and accountability, not money." After that, the consequences arrived exactly where they belonged. My parents downsized their cable package. My father picked up additional consulting work he had been too tired to pursue when my transfers were automatic. My mother moved her prescriptions to a cheaper pharmacy, something I had suggested 2 years earlier before she told me it was too complicated. Hannah had to cancel the beach rental and switch the kids' after-school program to a less expensive option. None of them became homeless. None of them were destroyed. They simply had to manage the life they had been outsourcing to me. That realization was both freeing and heartbreaking. I had not been saving them from disaster. I had been saving them from inconvenience while they gave their gratitude to someone else. A month later, a handwritten letter arrived from my father. Not a text. Not a demand. A letter. He wrote that he had replayed the week in Charleston and could not defend it. He admitted that calling me independent had become an excuse not to show up. He said, "I thought because you didn't ask for much, you didn't need much." I cried when I read that line, not because it fixed everything, but because it was the first sentence that sounded like accountability instead of strategy. My mother's apology came slower. At first, it was wrapped in defense, then shame, then silence. Finally, she called and said, "I don't know how to apologize without making excuses, but I want to learn." I told her that was the first honest thing she had said to me in a long time. We did not become a perfect family. This is not that kind of story. I did not run into their arms at an airport while music swelled. I did not resume payments because they said sorry. I did not punish them forever either. I chose something harder than revenge and cleaner than forgiveness without change. I chose boundaries. 3 months later, my parents visited Charleston again. This time, they paid for their own tickets. They booked a small hotel downtown. They asked what day worked for me instead of assuming I would wait. When they came to my townhouse, I set the table for 3, not 4, because Hannah was not part of that visit, and I was done blending every relationship into one family obligation. My mother brought flowers. My father brought lemon pie from a bakery and admitted it was better than his memory. Dinner was awkward at first. Real healing usually is. But they sat there. They ate. They listened. And when my mother reached for my hand and said, "I'm sorry we made you feel optional," I did not pretend the sentence erased the past. I simply said, "Thank you for saying it." That night, after they left, I washed 3 plates and felt something I had not expected: peace without performance. I learned that family love can be real and still be unhealthy if it requires you to disappear. I learned that being the strong one does not mean being the silent one. I learned that money can hide emotional neglect because payments look like connection when nobody is brave enough to build the real thing. Most of all, I learned that setting boundaries is not a declaration of hate. Sometimes it is the first honest invitation to love better. If they had never changed, I still would have survived. That mattered too. Because the victory was not that my parents finally came to dinner. The victory was that I stopped setting the table for people who treated my presence like an option, and when they finally knocked, I opened the door as a daughter, not a bank account. So tell me honestly, if your family only noticed your value after you stopped giving, would you let them back in? Or would you keep the door closed?
Every script we create is built with care, emotion, and the intention of giving viewers a story that feels meaningful. This is a fictional story made only for entertainment and educational purposes. We hope the lesson behind it reminds viewers that even after rejection or betrayal, they still have the power to rebuild their lives.